My name is Dylan Mercer, and I'm 29 years old. And last night at my Aunt Deborah's dinner table, I was called no better than your good-for-nothing father. I didn't react, didn't yell, didn't flip the table like in the movies. I just sat there, ate every bite of the lasagna I made myself from my mother's recipe, and silently watched them perform. Because I knew one thing, they had no idea that they were eating, living, and spending with my money. 5 years ago, my parents died in a car accident. They left me a savings account, a fully paid off house, and a family trust fund that few of them knew about. I am the trustee of that fund according to my parents' will. The money is only to be used for essential purposes and for the benefit of the family. And since that day, I became the one who quietly paid 70% of Deborah and Howard's monthly mortgage. I covered the expenses for my two cousins, Jared and Eli, from car payments to insurance. I also took care of the electricity, water bills, and even Howard's golf membership fees. All of it came from the fund under my name. They thought it was a government support package for the relatives of those who died in the accident. I never corrected them. I let them believe that. Last night was a Sunday dinner like any other at the two-story house that I was mostly paying for. I brought a tray of lasagna fresh out of the oven. My mother used to call it the dish that brings the whole family together. When I walked in, I overheard the end of a conversation between Deborah and Eli. At least someone in this house knows how to enjoy life. Her eyes flicked over me, sharp as a knife. I just smiled, barely noticeably. I was used to it. The dinner began with Howard bragging about his new golf club. The logo-embroidered outfit still had the price tag dangling. Jared showed off his new smartwatch, the kind that cost 3 months' rent for my apartment. They had no idea that I was paying for every single one of those things. As I was cutting a piece of lasagna on my plate, Deborah leaned towards me. "Dylan, don't you think it's time to upgrade that old car of yours? A decent man shouldn't drive a car that makes people pity him." I nodded without saying anything. She thought I was just getting by in life. She didn't know my 2012 Toyota was fully paid off. She didn't know I had a stable investment account. She didn't know that I controlled all of her family's expenses. Eli chimed in, half mocking, half indifferent. "Come on, Mom, not everyone can afford things like we can." I wanted to laugh. Eli, whose Honda 2021 I had just paid off the installments for last month, was acting like he was above me. The climax was when they started talking about their upcoming vacation in Florida. A trip I wasn't invited on, a trip booked with the family credit card, the one I paid off every month. "We deserve to enjoy ourselves," Howard said, raising his glass. "Some people in this family need to learn to work harder if they want to keep up." His eyes glanced at me. Jared laughed and clinked glasses. This time I couldn't swallow it anymore, but I remained silent. Until Deborah put down her glass, looked straight at me, and said, "You'll always be a good-for-nothing just like your father before he got lucky." The room went dead silent. Even Jared and Eli lowered their heads. I looked straight into her eyes. Not angry, not shaking, just a look very clear. I put down my knife and fork. I have to get up early for work. I stood up, cleared my place. And as I walked out the door, I heard laughter behind me. "Maybe we should start a GoFundMe for Dylan Poor Guy." They didn't know I stopped in the hallway. They didn't know I opened my banking app, checking every single detail. They didn't know I called my financial advisor at 8 a.m. the next morning. And they certainly didn't know that this would be the last time they enjoyed a luxurious life, thanks to this good-for-nothing Monday morning. I sat at the small desk in my one-bedroom apartment, the place they considered too shabby for someone almost 30. Hold on. The coffee next to my laptop was getting cold. I didn't touch it. Instead, I opened a folder that had long been labeled Family Trust, Do Not Touch. I kept everything, every payment, every transfer, every bill for electricity, water insurance, car rentals, and mortgage payments. Every document related to the fund my parents left behind. And this morning I looked at them, not with a sense of responsibility, but with the eyes of someone preparing to expose everything. $1,540 per month. 70% of the mortgage on Deborah and Howard's 4-bedroom house. They thought it was government benefits for the relatives of those who died in the accident. No, it was me. It was my parents' fund. The fund they never thanked. The fund they trampled on with the words, "That good-for-nothing is just leeching off us." I pulled up more files. Howard's golf club, $250 per month, 5 years without interruption. Jared's 2020 Jeep, $485 a month. Eli's 2021 Honda, $425 a month. Both cousins had no stable jobs during that time. And then I got to the miscellaneous expenses section. Electricity bills, 320 a month, cable TV, Wi-Fi, insurance, credit card debt, miscellaneous, total $288, $800 over 5 years. I had lived like a pauper so they could live like the upper class. While they mocked me for not knowing how to invest, they were sitting on a pile of my money. But the final nail in their coffin of hypocrisy was a conversation I found on Eli's public Instagram under a post about the Florida trip. Eli, too bad cousin Dylan can't afford to come. Deborah, some people just don't know how to manage money, honey. Jared, maybe he should take investing advice from dad. Laughing emoji. My head was spinning. That was a $4 or $800 trip booked on the trust's credit card, and I was the one paying for it. The fund that, according to my parents' will, was only for essential needs. Medical treatment, education, or real emergencies. Not for flying to Florida, staying at a resort, and drinking cocktails by the pool while laughing in my face. That afternoon, I had to bring some documents to their house. Still the family's emergency contact. No one was home. I left the papers on the desk in Howard's study. Before leaving, I saw a stack of printed emails lying open on the desk, curious. I glanced over them and I froze. They were planning a Labor Day barbecue for the neighbors without inviting me. Not only not inviting me, but also forbidding me from showing up, Deborah. We can't have Dylan there. His car and those clothes will embarrass us in front of the Johnsons. Howard, tell him we're keeping it small this year. Message Jared. That's kind of harsh. Howard, life's harsh. He needs to do better for himself. I wasn't angry, I turned off my emotions. For the first time in my life, I truly felt I was done. Not done because I was hurt, but done because I had no reason to continue being the gatekeeper of a castle built on arrogance, lies, and ingratitude. That night, I called my lawyer, the one who helped my parents draft this trust. I made it clear I wanted to end all support for the family. I wanted to redirect the fund to my parents' original goals. Scholarships, real medical support, community assistance. The lawyer agreed but made it clear, we need to give them 60 days notice according to the trust's regulations. I nodded. In 60 days, that house would no longer be paid for. In 60 days, they would receive the real car bills. In 60 days, the electricity, water, and credit card bills would go to the right people. And for the first time in 5 years, I slept soundly. Friday, 6 p.m., I arrived at Deborah's house on time as per their formal invitation over the phone the day before. Her voice then was as sweet as syrup. Can you make it, Dylan? The whole family has something important to discuss. I knew what kind of performance was waiting for me. And this time, I wasn't there to nod and endure. I was there to end it. When I walked in, I saw the construction workers finishing the new granite kitchen countertops. $155,000 for a kitchen they used exactly 3 times a month. Where did the money come from? I knew better than anyone. Don't mind the mess, Dylan. Deborah smiled as if I were an honored guest. You're probably not used to this kind of renovation, but you'll understand eventually. I smiled, sure. The living room was arranged like an official reception. Jared showed off his new watch. Eli wore a shiny silk shirt. Howard sipped red wine from a crystal glass that I had paid for last year. We need to have a serious talk about your future, he said, putting down his glass. Your attitude is affecting the family's image. They spoke as if I were a child who had just skipped school, forgetting I was the one who had been supporting this whole bunch of adults for 5 years. When dinner started, the food was served, not cooked by anyone but ordered from an expensive restaurant, also charged to the trust's credit card. I sat down, ate a few bites, and listened quietly. They talked about the Florida trip, about the barbecue, about how I should temporarily not appear at gatherings. You know, Dylan, Deborah said, putting down her knife and fork, your lifestyle is a bit low class. The Johnsons are coming, and we can't have that kind of image. Howard nodded, adding, their daughter just bought an $800,000 condo. We can't let you show up in that old car, you understand? Jared looked away. Eli kept eating. No one defended me. No one realized they were about to have the most bitter meal of their lives. I put down my fork, wiped my mouth, pulled out my phone, opened the banking app. So those investments you told me I should learn from, do they include the $250 a month golf membership fee that I've been paying for? Everyone froze. What are you talking about? Howard's face turned red. I opened the screen, turned to Deborah. And you aunt said I should get a new car. Do you know who's been paying 70% of this house? It's you, Eli dropped his spoon. Deborah tried to snap. You're lying. The money is from the Accident Benefits Fund, I interrupted. There is no such thing as a government fund. Never has been. It was a family trust my parents set up before they died, and I am the legal trustee. I presented the series of evidence I had prepared: bank statements, Jared and Eli's car payments, electricity, water, and insurance bills, the new granite kitchen invoice, the Florida trip expenses, the upcoming barbecue budget. That Florida trip canceled, the Labor Day party funding revoked, the new kitchen, hope they give you a refund. The room was completely silent. The only sound was the wine dripping onto the tablecloth as Deborah dropped her glass. Then the screaming began. Deborah, you're destroying this family. Howard will sue you for abuse of power, Eli. This isn't fun, man. Jared just silently shook his head. Why would you do this? I stood up as calmly as if I were just leaving a meeting. Everyone check your emails in the morning. I've sent the official notice. In 60 days, all support ends. Deborah grabbed my hand. You can't do this. We're family. I looked at her. Not angry, not hurt, just blunt. Family doesn't call each other good for nothing. Doesn't exclude each other from important events. Doesn't live off someone else's money and then mock them. I opened the door, turned back one last time. Oh, and about my car, it was paid off 3 years ago, unlike this house. Then I left Ian, leaving behind the shouting, the clattering of plates and glasses, and a family that could no longer hide its true nature. Monday, 9 a.m., the 60-day countdown officially began. I hit the send button on the email. A single send to the addresses: Deborah, Howard, Jared, Eli. Subject: Mercer Trust Adjustment Notice. Effective today. Attachment: 26-page PDF, full of details. Evidence and new payment deadlines for every expense they had been squandering for 5 years. I closed my laptop, turned off my phone, went to a cafe near my apartment. The coffee that day tasted strangely good. 2 hours later, when I turned my phone back on, 47 missed calls, 156 text messages, 13 voicemails, 28 Facebook notifications, and one person showing up at my door. Aunt Deborah not knocking, just pounding as if she wanted to break the door down. I opened it. Dylan, this has to be a joke, right? She screamed, her voice shrill, holding her phone with my email open. No, it's very real, I replied calmly. She barged in, her mascara smeared her perfume, overwhelming my small living room. You can't do this. You'll ruin us. I crossed my arms. No, you all ruined yourselves. I'm just stopping the payments. Not long after Howard arrived, eyes red collar, crooked, face about to explode. You ungrateful brat, how dare you? I stepped back, pulled out my phone. One more step and I'm calling the police. If you want to cut things off before 60 days, I can do that. Just one phone call. He froze. They began to understand. This time there were no more tears and tantrums. No more family is everything, just numbers, bills, interest rates, and debt collection. At noon, Jared and Eli also showed up. No fancy suits, no shiny watches, just two pale-faced guys trying to speak gently. Dylan, if you could postpone this month's car payment, we're family, you know. I looked at Eli, the one who wrote, Dylan doesn't know how to invest on Instagram. The car is in your name. Whether you pay or not is your business. But I just quit my job to find myself. I tilted my head, smiling. Great, find it quickly. 60 days. That afternoon, their whole family was in chaos. The bank called about their repayment plan. The credit card company blocked new spending. The granite countertop company called check bounced. The golf club sent an email canceling the membership due to unpaid fees. Deborah called me crying on the phone. You don't understand. This is all we have. Our house, our reputation, our social media. I replied simply. Then that's truly unfortunate, because I thought family should have been the last thing to go. That night I drove my cheap Toyota past their house. The house was dark without the usual bright lights. On the drive I received a text from Jared. Bro, I'm sorry I was wrong. If you could just show me how to manage my finances. I'll listen, I replied. Tomorrow, bring your laptop. Leave the smartwatch at home. Bring a blank notebook. And Eli, not a word, still posting Instagram stories, preaching as if nothing had happened, whatever. Not everyone is willing to grow up. The next morning, I received a text from the real estate company. Granite countertops being removed. They couldn't pay. A photo was attached. Deborah standing on the porch watching the workers remove what she once called dignity. She wasn't crying, not angry, just empty. Perhaps karma doesn't need to scream. It just needs to arrive on time, knocking with invoices. 60 days after the email. I stood in the old house of my parents, a small warm house, red brick walls, dark brown tiled roof, far from the elite neighborhood where Deborah's family used to show off. I had just moved back in. Not because I couldn't afford a nicer place, but because this place has memories, a foundation, and no mortgage. Everything here is mine, paid for in full with cash. I spent the past 3 months renovating every corner with my own hands. The doors repainted in the same wood brown as when I was a child. A vegetable garden planted in the back like my mother used to do. A new study named Mercer Room, with photos of my parents and the original letter they wrote to guide how to manage the Mercer Trust. That letter I had read at least 20 times since everything ended. Use it to help others, but don't let anyone turn you into a servant. From my father's letter, I understood. Now I truly understood Deborah's family. They struggled to restructure their lives. The house was being put up for sale because they couldn't afford the new loan. Jared's Jeep was repossessed. Eli was working the night shift at an electronics store. Howard was kicked out of the golf club for reasons of no longer being a good fit. Deborah no longer appeared on Instagram with champagne glasses. Instead, she posted about learning to be grateful. I didn't rejoice, didn't retaliate, didn't keep track. I was just done caring. I started redirecting the Mercer Trust, no longer a place to nurture the complacent. Now it's a small scholarship fund for finance students at the local university. The scholarship conditions are simple. Must have been underestimated and still chose to stand up. Like my father, like my mother, like me one day, Jared came back. No longer the arrogant young man, but someone who knew how to bow his head properly. Bro, I'm learning to live more realistically. I've started a spending journal. I handed him a new notebook without judgment. Write everything down, not to control your wallet, but to control your pride. He nodded. Eli was still silent. Everyone will learn in their own way if they choose to learn. That night, I sat on the porch looking at my clean 2012 Toyota. It still ran smoothly, running like me quietly, steadily, without ostentation. I held a cup of tea, opened my laptop, and wrote the final lines of this journey. They called me a pauper. While I was supporting their whole family to live like the upper class, they laughed at my old car while their cars were being paid off in installments by my account. And when I silently withdrew, they cried about family. But family doesn't live on insults. Family doesn't exclude anyone just because of image problems. I used to think kindness was unconditional. Now I understand kindness has limits and should be given to those who deserve it. If you have ever been looked down upon by those you love, remember, you don't need to shout to be respected. You just need to take back what they thought you would always give unconditionally. Thank you for watching until the end of this story. If you see yourself in a small part of Dylan, please like, subscribe, and share this video. You never know, someone out there might need to hear this story more than you think. I am Dylan Mercer. I am not rich. I just live by the values my parents taught me. And in the end, that was what set me free.